Greetings and welcome back to the Galley of the Sun. Here we are on location in Surprise, Arizona at my favorite butcher shop, Traub's. Let's go see what Chad has for us to cook today. Alrighty, so here we are inside at our favorite butcher shop, Traub's in Surprise, Arizona. And we're getting ourselves some Brontosaurus ribs. So, Chad's cut these up for us. So what do we have here, Chad?
First of all, we have our grain-fed Brontosaurus rib. You can see the amount of meat there, and it comes from the 6th, 7th, and 8th rib. This is the grain-fed. You can tell the grain-fed. You can always tell by the fat that's on that.
Okay.
The fat you'll see is more white. But yeah, that's how you can tell the difference between the grain-fed versus the grass-fed. And you can see here on the grass-fed, you get more of a yellowish tint on that fat. But you also have the same ribs there. You can see that cap on there. So really good ribs. Work out really great.
Fantastic. Can't wait to try them. So, which is your favorite?
I tend to stick with the grain-fed based on the flavor profile. Fat means flavor, which I tend to go with. But the grass-fed is also good, and going on that same aspect of fat means flavor, you're going to have a little less fat here, so you might have more of a beefier taste.
Alrighty. Well, we'll find out from our judges once we have it cooked. So let's get these wrapped up and home. We'll see you there. Good morning. It's 6 a.m. here in the Valley of the Sun. I want to be eating these ribs sometime between 4 and 5 tonight, so we need to get these onto the smoker. Right now, my YS640S pellet grill is preheating to 290 degrees Fahrenheit. So here in a few minutes it'll be ready. Well, let's get all the rest of the stuff ready. I got a couple pans here. Ideally, I would like one about half this size for this next step, but alas, I don't have any because we normally just do big cooks here. Into that pan is going to go about a cup's worth of Wagyu beef tallow. We're going to use this in one of the steps towards the end, but in the meantime, it's going to sit in the smoker and get that delicious flavor. Oh yeah. Look at that stuff. This stuff is incredible. You can get it from Amazon. We set that aside, and now we work on our beef ribs. I'm not going to look at the label first to make sure I can still identify these between the grass-fed and the grain-fed. A little test for myself. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is the grass-fed. As Chad described, that fat has just a little bit of a yellow tint to it. Almost green if you use your imagination, which is the color of grass, right? Now again, last night I did a little bit more research to find out if there is any other incredible techniques to doing this. No, it's a pretty simple cook, but what I did notice is, boy, the confusion on beef ribs. What they call dino ribs, what they call Brontosaurus ribs. Some people call, like I did and Shad did at the butcher shop, ribs 6, 7, and 8 right here. Those are the Brontosaurus ribs. Ribs 2 through 5, going from the front of the cow, are short ribs, but they're also called dino ribs. Well, a Brontosaurus was a dinosaur, and people call all sorts of different cuts dino ribs, Brontosaurus ribs. Better name for it, the more traditional name is plate ribs, if you're looking for this exact cut. So what I'm going to do to these grass-fed plate ribs is hit them with our rub. We're going to use some Lone Star brisket rub from Cattleman's Grill. Love all their different rubs. We use them all the time. And I'm going to go pretty heavy on it because we want a nice bark. Now, I'm not going to bother to do the back of it because the membrane. Now, if these were pork ribs, you'd take that off. The beef ribs, the meat's going to shrink back so far from that. When it's done cooking, it's going to be easy to pull off. In the meantime, it's going to keep everything together, which is what we want. Now, because we are doing a long cook, and because we're cooking at a little higher temperatures than traditional low and slow, you want to find a rub that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, because that could burn on you. This does not. It's got salt, pepper, granulated garlic. Just an incredible, incredible rub. Some people take all of the fat off the top of these ribs. Fat is flavor. I ain't gonna do that. Ain't gonna do it. I'm glad I did that. I got them backwards. This is the grass-fed, definitely. Much more yellow here. This is the grain-fed. All right, there we go. There's the prep. So we're gonna let these set for about 10 minutes and let that rub adhere to the meat a little bit, and then it's time to chuck it on the smoker. We'll see you out there. Okay, smoker's up to temp. As I said inside, it's just after 6 a.m. We're not gonna touch these again once we get them on until 10 a.m. The grain-fed looks a little bit thicker to me than the grass-fed. We'll see how it works. Ribs are on, tallow goes in. We're gonna go ahead and put that underneath the ribs for right now, because if more stuff drips in it, all the better. All right, we'll see you again in about 4 hours. We are approaching hour 4 of those glorious beef ribs being on the smoker. So we have 2 important things we need to do right now. Number 1, the things that are happening in that smoker right now are amazing. The bark is getting set. So we don't want that bark to end up being too tough. So we're gonna do something about that. Number 2, the fat's starting to render. And if you've watched all of our videos, you've seen me make this before, so I'm not going to really talk a whole lot about its construction and the constituents. However, every time we have had a cook in the smoker, a long cook, we have made these beans and it's been a huge hit. So I'm going to get these put together. The fat in the beef is rendering. This is going to go right underneath it, and those drippings are going to fall right in these beans and make them even better. So in an aluminum pan, I'm mixing together some beans. We love Bush's baked beans. To that, a finely diced sweet onion or 2. Big old heaping spoonful of garlic. A little bit of that Lone Star rub that we're using on our beef ribs to bring it all together. One of the most important items, Plowboy's barbecue brand Bean Buddy. This stuff is absolutely phenomenal. We get ours from All Things Barbecue out of Wichita, Kansas, atbbq.com. We were just recently there visiting some family, so we stocked up. Okay, not quite done with that. 5 or 6 pieces of bacon all diced up. Some brown sausage. It's been cooked about 80–85%. I love to use Jimmy Dean's sage. I love the extra flavor the sage adds to it. And then something I hadn't added in previous recipes, but I should have, because 1, it's delicious, and 2, it's good for you. I have very little hatch green chilies left in this container, so we're going to add those. Now, they may not come out that easy, so we're going to help them out. Wash it out with some bourbon. Cardinal Sin Distilleries out of St. Louis. Once again, neither All Things Barbecue or Cardinal Sin is sponsoring this video. I just love their products. Their OMG whiskey, Cardinal Sin, is probably my favorite. It's a brown sugar whiskey. This is one of their new ones, Lust. It's got some chocolate and caramel sort of hints to it. Gonna add that to the beans, but we're gonna use it to wash out our Bean Buddy jar and our hatch green chili jar. Gonna add about a cup of this. All right, I'm gonna get all this mixed together, then we'll head out to this. Oh, wait, I talked about the rub. So to make sure that our bark stays, we want a good layer, but we don't want it to be tough, right? So we're gonna spritz our ribs. And we're gonna do that with a mixture of water and beer. And I'm using Modelo's. Now you can use water and apple cider vinegar if you wish. You can use water and whiskey if you wish. I just like this flavor, because beer goes pretty well with beef. All right, we'll see you out the smoker. So it's the 4-hour point. Let's take a look and see where we are. That bark is setting, the tallow is getting its golden color from soaking up that smoke. Let's not waste the drippings coming off this and get these beans there. Not only does it keep your smoker cleaner, but that flavor, You don't want to waste that. All right, let's get some spritzing. I'm not going to go crazy, just get the everything moist. All right, we will spritz again at hour 5, spritz again at hour 6. So that's the next time you'll see us, in a couple hours. See you then. Okay, we've hit hour 6 of the smoke. If I didn't mention it before, I'm using pecan pellets for this cook. Pecan pellets, post oak, mesquite, hickory are all good pellets to use for this. Stay away from the fruit flavors for this one. It just doesn't permeate as well. See what we got. All right, the bark's looking pretty damn good. We're about a half hour from pulling and wrapping these. So I'm gonna get them spritzed again. And then we're gonna pull that beef tallow. You can hear the beer hitting the tallow, popping and everything. That's fine, it's all going back on the ribs. So we're gonna get that pulled, get it inside, cooled down, so maybe it'll solidify a little bit and be easier for us to get on the ribs. All right, see ya in another half hour or so. Okay, last shot I jacked up. It was hour 5, not hour 6. This is hour 6.
If you say so.
I've already checked the ribs, they're looking incredible. The bark is set, and their temperature is between 190 and 195. Now it's time to get them off and get them wrapped. Also, I screwed up and I shared pictures with my friends, so I might have more coming over than I have meat for. So, another thing we got from Traub's, I'm gonna put on these Italian cheese sausages, so I have extra meat just in case. Well, will you look at that? Oh, they smell amazing. We'll get the sausages on and keep them above the beans also. We'll use their drippings. All right, let's get those ribs wrapped. Okay, these specimens are looking gorgeous and they smell amazing. First, we got the grain-fed. We can still tell the difference because the bones are bigger on the grain-fed. We're gonna get this on our butcher paper, get that all lined up. And then I didn't quite pull the tallow early enough to get it solidified, but now we're gonna apply this here. Why are we doing this? To keep that bark, the bark's fantastic. This is not gonna wash it away. It's gonna keep it moist. So we don't have an incredibly tender cut of meat and then a hard bark exterior. We want your teeth to glide through the whole thing and get the different tastes.
Delicious, scrumptious, outstanding.
All right, it is absolutely glistening. Now we wrap. Again, we want the meat up. That towel is going to help it keep moist, but if you put the meat down in that and it's soaking in there, then you do run the risk of losing your bark when you go to cut it. So meat up, ribs down, back on the smoker about an hour. Then we're gonna put them into a cooler. In the cooler, we're gonna have a beach towel, then these, then another beach towel, and let them rest until we're ready to eat. You only need to let these rest for about 20 minutes. But if you get done ahead of time, if you're like me and you're worried that you're not gonna have the meat done ahead of time, I typically start way earlier than I need to, then it can sit in that cooler for hours and it's gonna be just fine. Let's get that back to the smoker and we'll see you when it's time to unwrap these puppies. See you then. Alrighty, the cook is done, the rest is done. Let's carve these up and get some judgment to figure out which is better, grain-fed or grass-fed. We'll find out. All right, let's bring in our judge and find out what the answer is. Is grass-fed better or grain-fed better? We'll find out. The judgment of Bradley.
What's up? All right.
All right.
This is the grain fed?
That is.
Grass fed?
Yep.
All right, cool. We're going. Going. Raw flavor. I can taste the flavor.
Yeah, allegedly that one's going to be more juicy and moist because of more fat, more marbling. This one allegedly is going to be more beefy.
Okay. Let's see. I'm leaning towards the grass-fed.
Really? Okay.
I don't know if it's the piece that you cut off, but it seemed a little tougher. Mm-hmm. But this one's not as tough.
Well, let's go. We've got, this is, there is no doubt that this next one is juicy. Juicy.
Oh yeah, it's juicy.
There we go.
Yeah.
We need to get a proper judgment here.
Grain-fed's pretty good too.
Do you prefer one or the other, or are they just both awesome?
They're both awesome. I
Okay.
like them both. I'm not big on the preference, but yeah, grain-fed's really good. Grass-fed's really good. It just depends on what you like. I like grass-fed a little more because it just, I don't know, it was a lot not as tough. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's either because of the piece of meat that you cut or whatever, but it's good.
Oh, there you go. Hey, no matter what, eat cow. There you go.
Eat cow.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. And until we see you next time, fair winds and following seas.
Like and subscribe.
Into that pan is going to go about a cup's worth of Wagyu beef tallow.